You ready, Neil?
1 second.
This is the big moment.
All right.
Okay. Did she make it? Did she make it through the door? Hey, Justin from Storied here. I'm a maker. I've made instruments and bread and toys, and I'm on a journey to meet other makers across campus to learn more about their shops and the way that they work. Today, we're at the Siebel Center for Design. We're going to head down to the aptly named shop to find out how they're making more accessible to the campus community. So let's head down this very long ramp and get to Making, Illinois.
So I oversee all of the shop spaces here at SCD. So that means that I'm in charge of making sure that we have the resources, manpower, and ability to do whatever guests want to come in here and do. We have a lot of different tools and equipment here. So we try to have enough on hand that people can come in with whatever wild idea they have and see it all the way through to fruition.
And Siebel Center for Design sits sort of in an interdisciplinary space here on campus, serving sort of everybody. What do your guests that come in, who are they, what do they look like, what kind of stuff are they working on?
Sure, well that's one of the great parts about working here is we're not directly tied to any specific department. So if any student on campus wants to come in and try out our equipment, they're welcome to. We have the same policies for coming in here for an arts major or a psych major or an engineering major. It doesn't matter to us. And because of that, we see really cool diversity in projects because we never know what somebody might be bringing in. It could be something that's related to their research or their field of study, or it could be because they want to print a poster for their dorm room. It's all available and welcome. We're a little bit unique because we're not a job shop. We're not going to take over. We're not going to take your file, print it out for you, give you back a finished product. What we're going to do is we're going to take you over to the machine, show you how to run it, show you how to work with it safely, and then step back, let you use it. Almost every piece of equipment here is a professional level machine, and it could be a career path for somebody.
And you're really eliminating that barrier of access for a student who is not going to fit that machine in their dorm room.
Absolutely.
Or isn't able to afford that machine for their apartment.
Yeah, well, and we really want to make it accessible as accessible as possible. So we try to have the materials on hand for the running of these machines, and we will only sell it at our own costs. So if somebody wants to use that printer, it doesn't make sense to buy a $2,000 roll of paper that is 52 inches wide by 100 yards long. So we're going to keep that here, and we'll sell you a 1-foot strip of it if you want.
Right.
You can buy the small increments, and we'll just sell it at our exact cost. So that way you're not even paying an up charge because we're stocking in hand.
Right. Well, and that sort of leads, I think, into your background. Tell me about how you ended up here, knowing how to use all these tools and the materials. Where did you come from?
Sure, my background is actually in theater construction. So I got my degree in theatrical technology, and then I ended up doing trade show design and fabrication. So lots of wild builds to display products for a remote control toy company. And then came to campus where I worked for the Krannert Center for Performing Arts as a carpenter in their scene shop. And then after that, I moved over to managing the Fab Lab here on campus, the CU Community Fab Lab, which got me exposed to a lot more of the digital fabrication techniques, as well as just that wild throughput of different projects. We don't run the projects here; we just open our doors to them. Mm-hmm. And so that really kind of primed me for that attitude and that atmosphere before coming here to SCD.
Yeah. Is there a particular shift that you've noticed in sort of how you approach making in this kind of a space instead of that sort of for-hire work that you've done in your past?
Sure. Well, I think it's both like a shift and also one of the hardest parts of the job is trying to take that step back because it's so important for a guest to have ownership of their project. If I do step in and I take control of the mouse and I start clicking and saying, oh, just click this, this, and this, and now your project's perfect, that might get them a good result, might get a good result fast, but it also means that the next time they come in, they still need me to do that.
Sure.
Whereas if I can just say, well, here's why you need to do some extra steps and point them in the right direction, then the next time they come in, they just need me to sign them in.
Right.
And after that, then they're telling me how to do something that I didn't know how to do. And that's what I love is, every student on this campus has an area of expertise beyond what I have. So we get to share in that learning process. It's not a one-way street. every guest who comes in teaches our staff something too.
Talk to me a little bit about this main area that we're standing in.
Sure, so this is our maker space, and this is sort of the point of entry to the shop. So here we have like more of our software equipment. So it's like I said before, professional caliber equipment, but the hazards are hopefully just a little bit less. We're talking about, if something goes wrong, you might get a cut, mild burn, but you're not going to lose an arm in this room. But you can still do fantastic projects in here.
Right.
So we have anything from our textiles area. So we have sewing machines, we have a serger interlocker, we have hand tools, threads, all the things to go along with those projects. We have a screen printing section. We have our large format printer that can print on, poster paper. It can do self-adhesive vinyl for making stickers. It can do, the banner vinyl, which is what we have our 2 flags at the back of the room were printed on those machines. We have 3D printers. That's not something we have a lot of because there are a lot of places on campus that do that. And that's another thing we try to do here is we don't want to be like the exclusive, you have to come here to make things. We also want to let you know what resources exist already. So we looked around on campus and realized, hey, there's like 3 shops that have a lot of 3D printers and they're open and accessible. So let's not spend our money there.
Right.
Let's just get what we need so it's convenient, but then also we can point people back. There's all these different places that we can send people to and they can get that great experience as well.
Yeah, but knowing that it's here means that if I have a project that needs some soft goods in the textiles area and there's a 3D printed component, I can come here and do it all.
Yeah, and did you know you can 3D print onto textiles?
I didn't, now I do.
Yep.
Hey Neil, here we are. We've donned our safety equipment.
Yep.
Tell me about the space we're in now.
So we're in a room we refer to as our production shop. So as I was saying before, this is where we have our slightly heavier duty equipment, machines that have a little bit of a higher hazard. So we also have a higher training threshold for people coming into this space. So we have a mix of computer-aided machining and also traditional woodworking equipment. So behind us right here, we have our CNC router. This is a 3-axis CNC router, so that means it can move up and down, forward and back, left and right. And because we can have it move in those 3 directions, we can program it to follow any path within that work envelope defined by those movements. So the CNC router is great if we want to cut out 2D profiles or 3D machining in softer materials like wood, foam, plastics, but it can't really process anything harder like metals or stone, glass. So if anybody wants to cut something like that, we have our next option, which is the water jet cutter. On this side of the room, we have our traditional woodworking equipment. So we're really lucky in that it's all brand new and shiny, but it's the same sort of technology that's been around since the 1800s. So here we have our table saw. We also have our panel saw, which is this large frame, white frame here behind it. We have a jointer and a planer. So the planer leaves a really nice surface, but it's not the finished surface if you're really going for a really beautiful finished piece. So a lot of times you need to do some hand sanding. That might mean checking out one of our palm sanders that we have from the checkout room, or it might mean that you just get a piece of sandpaper and a block and you sand it completely manually. But this table is going to pull air down through these holes and run it through a filter. So that way, all of that dust and debris that you're creating when you're sanding isn't being kicked up in the air and you're not breathing that in. We are really fortunate to be working with a local company called Grit Automation. They have a system that not only helps us with all of our tool access, so when guests come in, we're going to issue them one of these Grit cards. That card is going to store their profile. So anytime you learn a new tool, we're going to enter that into our database. And next time you come in, you can just go up to the tool, tap it with your card, and the machine will turn on for you. If you haven't trained on it yet, it's not going to turn on yet.
Right.
But that system is also really smart. So it's talking to all these other devices. So at eye level, you'll see these red glowing lights. Those are the blast gates for all of our different tools. So when you turn on a specific tool, it's going to open that gate, it's going to turn on our dust collector, and then it's going to turn on the machine. We have our lathe here. This is one of our few double black diamond tools. This is a very hazardous piece of machinery. So for this machine, we do require that you attend to one of our weekend workshops that just goes over how to use this machine and use it safely. And then lastly here, we have our drill press. Typically we're using this for wood, but we also do have some bits that are acceptable for cutting through metals. And I even have some cutting fluid back there behind it, so that way you can add a little bit of oil to the process, which helps the cutting when you're working with metals or harder materials like that.
Sure, and that cutting fluid is both lubrication but also temperature control.
Absolutely, yeah. It helps cool and dissipate the heat so that you're not either melting the cutting edges of the bit or just melting and creating a burr of metal so that you're not distorting the hole that you're trying to make.
Sure, you get to keep that precision.
Exactly.
All right, now we've got one more space upstairs to look at, isn't that right?
Yeah, we're going to head to the media studio next. So here we have a sound-treated room. It's not perfectly sound isolated. We can still sometimes hear other things going on in the building if they get a little bit rowdy, but it's pretty well isolated, so we can do some awesome video recording, audio recording. We've got a mobile green screen frame. And then we also have our overhead lighting rig. So we have some fixtures that are always up, and we can control those with an app on an iPad. We have a couple of fixtures that can float around on the floor, as well as a lot of other equipment just put away in the cabinets and able to be brought out whenever we have a group meeting.
Well, Neil, thanks so much. We've got one more person who we're meeting today. Tell us about Ben, who's going to show us one of his projects.
Sure. Ben's a student who's been working here in the shop spaces. He's been doing some really amazing projects that are just all over the place. I mean, he's done anything from personal woodworking projects to really cool projects for like medical making. So he's definitely going to showcase some of the variety of things that can be made in this space.
So this is an arterial and venous IV trainer arm, and in more common speak, it's basically a way that like phlebotomists or just any healthcare practitioner can do training on just taking blood sticks, like needles pokes for blood draws, or ABGs for arterial blood gaskets. This is the initial tubing that started. It is tubing for an artery, which will come through and you can do your ABGs and stuff right here. And it was attached to a hand pump and a blood bag. To change that, we replaced it with a motorized pump, which will do the same action as a hand pump. To add venous capabilities, I carved a vein into the arm itself and then made some tubing to replicate the vein, and it is hooked up to just a regular motor, which will compress the tube and push fluid through the tube.
The idea is that once you've got both of these systems running in tandem, you essentially can double that training capability of this arm.
Yeah, because there aren't any arms that exist that both do arterial and venous sticks at the same time.
And all this work that you've done, you did in the shop?
Yeah, I've done the majority of my work on this arm in the shop because they just have more hardware and stuff than I have.
And talk me through the work that we're doing today.
Yeah, so last time I was working on this, there was an electrical issue that caused a component to short, and I think it was my battery. So I have done stuff to replace my battery, but I still have to wire everything together and see if it will actually run. So
great. Well,
we'll do.
Fingers crossed. Mine, not the arms.
Yep.
Let's get making.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Okay, Ben, you've got it all working. You did a bunch of electronics work.
I did.
What was the problem?
So I tested everything, and it turned out that when something short-circuited, it came back and it fried the Pi, the Raspberry Pi, which is the main controller of everything and like the brains of it. And while the Raspberry Pi still works, it can't handle full power output. When I tried to use it at load or at capacity, it couldn't power everything, so it wouldn't actually do the thing. So I just replaced it with a different Raspberry Pi that I had sitting here, and it all seems to work now.
Awesome.
So
we're ready to fire it up?
I am.
Okay, what can I do?
I need you to hold this and make sure that the tubes are underwater.
Okay.
You can hear this one, you can't as much see it because we don't have it hooked up, but this should be drawing power through it, because you can see that this is basically just pushing along the tube, and that's just pushing water up.
And so now once this is working, someone in training could come in and practice those.
Yep. So this could be veins.
Uh-huh.
So you could practice vein sticks, and it'll function like a vein.
Awesome. So cool. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, thank you for being interested in the project.